everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we're really excited today. We are here to talk with another author. We love having authors on the podcast. And we have Melody Carlson back with us. This is your fourth time being on the podcast. Can you believe it?
No, I was trying to remember how many times, but thank you for having me all those.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. The last time that you were on was actually March of 2023. So it's been 2 years. So we got some catching up to do. But yeah, fourth time.
yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
So how have you been? How have they had a good 2 years?
It was a really hard 2 years.
Yeah, it's been a
I
tough
won't,
time.
yeah, and I can't, yeah. It's like, what book was out last year? There was a book.
Yeah, I think the last time that we talked, I mean, I guess it wouldn't have been March, but
Well, I
I
had
mean, I
March
remember we
releases.
talked about Christmas on the Alps, but it must have been another one before that. I mean,
Yeah,
after that. But
yeah.
yeah,
Well,
I
I can't even remember what it was back then, but
yeah.
yeah. So anyway, the last 2 years I was caring for my husband who had
Yeah.
FTD and he did pass away.
Oh, did he?
So,
Oh,
yeah,
I'm sorry to
and
hear that.
and that's kind of what this book is about. Ironically, I didn't know I would be doing, release and everything shortly after he had died, but that's the way the world turns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's why the book feels so personal.
It's very personal, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so you've written so many books. And what's the latest count of how many books you've written?
I quit counting a long time ago. What you see behind me are some of my books. But I
Yeah.
mean, every book on the shelf I wrote, but that's not even all the books.
Yeah. You've written
So,
over 200 books, right?
yeah, I really think it's close to 300, but
Oh my
honestly, I quit
gosh.
counting when it hit 250, and that's been
Uh-huh.
years ago. So
Yeah.
I don't even know. Yeah.
How do you keep coming up with ideas? How do you keep doing it?
I think life just throws him. No, not really. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just the way my brain is wired. I
Uh-huh. Are you usually working on more than one book at the same time?
Not really. I mean, sometimes
Okay.
I'll be writing a book and edits will come in for a different book and I have to pause and do the edits and then go back to the book. But I don't like work on two projects at the same time. I may
Yeah.
have in the past, but my
Yeah.
brain, nah, wouldn't do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I that you've written in different time periods. You've done some modern, you've done some period pieces. Do you have a preference of what you prefer?
Well, I back in the day, I probably always would have said contemporary, but gosh, I've really enjoyed doing some timepieces. Like you said, I've done World War I, World War
Uh-huh.
II, the Oregon Trail, Women of the West, and lately I've had a Western percolating in my head. So I haven't told anybody about. So
Oh.
I got to figure that one out if I really want to do it or not. But
Oh.
yeah,
Do you like doing the research of the side of it?
yes, I love
Yeah.
it, and it.
Yeah.
I have to. I'm not techie, and I don't if everything crashed, I kind of wouldn't care that
Uh-huh.
all that. But I do think the internet has made it super easy to do
Yeah.
research. There's so many more resources and historical stuff too. I mean, you can
Yeah.
find everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does your publishers, do they like weigh in at all and be like, oh, we want you to write this kind of book, or we want you to do this, or at all, or they give you pretty free reign?
Pretty free reign, and occasionally they'll go, well, what about this? Like at one point they were like, what about Amish? And I'm like, but I did about 3 or 4 Amish books, and it was fun. Um,
Uh-huh.
Another publisher that they had a royal line and
Mhm.
I had done well, I did a royal Christmas for one publisher, and then I did a couple of royal books, and they said, could I do another one? And then I had this dream about a nanny, a royal that she ended up going working, didn't know it for royalty, and so I
Oh, you
did
got
that.
a dream.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Stories come from all kinds of places.
Yeah. Do you find that of the like romantic tropes of writing, like enemies to lovers, friends to lovers, things like that? Like, do you find that one is harder than the other?
Oh, harder. Probably. I haven't done as many. Like, I am pegged as a romance writer, which is kind of funny because I don't really. I've been told also you don't really write romance. I write love,
Uh-huh.
but one of my favorite ones is just old love, just finding old love,
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah.
Second
So
chance. Second chance.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm liking that more and more now. It's just probably my
Mhm.
age. Yeah.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
Do you have an author that you especially kind of look up to and try to like emulate their style or
I have
their
several,
stories?
and this will, date me, but that's okay. Like before I actually started writing, I read a lot of like Rosamund Pilcher, May Binchy, a lot of the kind of British and Irish, and there was a Scottish one I liked that is
Uh-huh.
pretty obsolete, D.E. Stevens. And I don't know if anybody knows who that is, but and I liked Lucy Maud Montgomery too.
Oh.
It's funny. I mean, it's like, and then Elizabeth Berg and Ann Tyler, and I know there's a
Yeah.
whole plethora of authors I admire a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Lucy Maud Montgomery, like in that, especially that first Anne book, like just captures the experience of childhood so well. Like you really feel like you're in Anne's head
I
so
know.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't read them as a child. I read them as an
Mm,
adult, and I read all of them because I was just captivated by how well she wrote, how she
yeah.
got it, and then ironically, then I did end up writing a lot of books for teens. I mean, I probably wrote 100 novels for teens back in the day,
Hmm.
and probably in a way wasn't thinking about it at the time, but kind of emulating what she was doing, and
Yeah.
only more contemporary. Our culture is so
Yeah.
different than theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself doing sort of more women's fiction? Like, would you say?
Yeah, and that was always kind of where I started. That was where I wanted to go. I think my heart initially was women's contemporary fiction that was about relationships that would have a thread of love story or romance in it, but not like a true romance novel.
Hmm.
And I actually, I won the Rita in 1998. Gosh, that sounds like a lifetime ago. Um, and was told when I did that, oh, you didn't write a romance novel, and I'm like, what is a romance novel? I
Yeah.
don't really know, but it was a love story, and that was kind of where my heart was. I
Mhm.
want to do tales about relationships and women, and of course, there's got to be a little bit of a that doesn't have to be, but I like
Mhm.
having a little thread.
Do you always write clean romance in your books?
Yeah, I mean, if there's romance there, it's always pretty clean. Although
Hmm.
it's funny because when I was thinking about it, I was thinking, well, because it would involve a brothel, so I'm like,
Oh, okay.
I don't know,
Yeah.
and actually, in the some of the teen books, I mean, I wouldn't call it not clean, but it got a little earthy,
Oh.
and it was just really it was to teach because it's like you got to get real when you're writing for teens, which now I don't do that anymore. So now I don't have to get real anymore.
Yeah, do you find that sometimes it's hard to build up that romantic tension with and keep it clean?
Yeah, because you want it to have some passion,
Yeah.
like life. That's a real fine line because you don't want to. titillate your readers, because a lot of my readers would not like that. They'd be like,
Right.
"What are you doing?" But you want to build up the chemistry, and it's so funny because my husband and we had just this really kind of sweet, chaste relationship that doesn't even exist anymore, and it's because we both had been through various dating relationships and this and that, and we were kind of just determined to keep it,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I had to have that experience. So I'm not making it up.
Okay. Yeah. How did you meet your husband?
Well, the funny thing is, we grew up in the same town, small town. I mean, not as small as where I live, but and our paths had to cross over and over and over again because we have the same stories, but we never knew each. We went to the same high school, but we never knew each other.
That's interesting.
I taught overseas and traveled and came back, and then we both started working in a youth a ministry called Young Life, and that's really where we met. And so because we're around these teenagers, that was the other reason that we were trying to keep things kind of chaste and clean between us, because we're trying to be an example to these wily teenagers that were just all over the place.
Yeah.
And they were, so even while we were engaged and we took them places and did things, they were always like, "Come on, just kiss her, just It was funny.
Yeah, yeah, that's funny. Well, let's talk about welcome to the Honey B and B. Why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about this book? What's it about?
Well, it really was inspired by my husband's illness. I think I just gotten his diagnosis of FTD, and FTD is frontal temporal dementia, and I didn't even know what it was.
Mm,
And but I quickly found out. I started researching. I mean, when we went to the final appointment, where after we'd done all the testing and everything, and the neurologist kind of grimly looks at us and wouldn't even look us in the eye, sort of. He'd just look down at his, stuff and show us the prints, and he said FTD, which my husband had a sense of humor, and he goes, "Oh, am I going to be delivering flowers?" And he kept that sense of humor throughout. Well, kind of throughout,
yeah.
but I didn't know what it was. And then when I got home and I started to find out what it was, I was just like, "Oh my goodness, this is a horrible diagnosis." And so then I was having to tell relatives and everybody that I said, Chris has got FTD. Like, what's FTD? So I was explaining it over and over again. And what I have done in the past, instead of explaining various ailments that we've had in our family, is I'd write a book about it. Like, okay, read the book, and kind of just wrap it up in fiction story that, but that educated at the same time. So I thought, okay, that's what I'm going to do with this. And the whole, I thought my husband loved honey. I mean, his lunchtime go to for the last 2 years was peanut butter and honey sandwich on Dave's Killer Bread, and I could offer him anything. I could offer him the moon and, prime rib, whatever,
Yeah.
no. And he'd kind of play this little game with me. I'd go, well, not, I would be more like, you want tuna fish? You want egg salad? You want this? And then, he'd just get this funny look. I go, you want peanut butter and honey? And he'd be, oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So I made this character a beekeeper on his farm, and he was a farmer, and his farm had shrunk, and just like his whole world was shrinking, and his joy was keeping bees. And so that was kind of this the story was born there, and then it
Mm.
kind of took off.
Do you feel like writing the book helped you kind of process the whole experience?
It did. I mean, there's parts of it, that were hard to write, because it's a lot
Sure.
of it is truly autobiographical. I mean, we don't live on a farm, we don't keep bees, but the other parts of it, and just bringing in other family members and trying to, everybody get on the same page, and let's help each other and let's help him, and it just gets messy, and it does with FTD too, and just, yeah, just go with it.
Now you switch off narrators in the book, and I was curious if that was challenging, particularly for the CT chapters that are from the
That
perspective of the person with dementia.
Yeah, that was probably the biggest challenge. Switching off from the mom and the daughter, that just felt natural. And I do switch points of view some books I don't, but CTs. And the reason I did it was because I would sit there with my husband, as he was getting quieter and communication and words were getting harder for him, and memory was all over the place. And I'd like, what is going on in your head? I just wanted to just climb in there and just see it. So then I just started imagining it, and I'd ask him a few questions, and I'd study him, and I just thought, well, I'm just going to wing it. And I've written about, like, I did a book about schizophrenia where I did the whole thing first person, present tense, which was kind of a challenge, but it was like the book demanded to be written that way. And I just felt like, okay, we've got to have his point of view in here just a few times, just so people can step into his world, even if it's just momentarily, and see the confusion and see the frustration and this person who's trapped in this brain that's letting him down. So I just wanted to show that.
Have you ever seen the movie The Father with
No.
Anthony Hopkins? I
Uh-uh.
highly recommend it. I think you would really like it. He's a man who has dementia, and you see, so Olivia Colman plays his daughter, and she comes in to care for him, but there's like different versions of her, and you're seeing the whole thing from his perspective, and and he's getting all the time. It's really quite a
That's
good
fascinating.
movie.
I'm
Yeah.
not ready for it yet, but maybe
Maybe, yeah, maybe in a bit, maybe a bit.
give
Yeah.
me 6 months or so.
Yeah. It's
It's
quite good.
fascinating.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, this relationship between Jewel and her daughter, what was that like kind of writing this their bond and their relationship and how it grew?
Yeah. Well, and I probably stole a little bit from my granddaughter, having been, I kind of sort of helped raise her and spent a whole lot of time with her. And she went through
Mm,
some of those hard years because I had sons. So, but I wanted to make her a difficult girl because, most 14-year-olds
yeah.
or 13, whatever are. And then Jewel, I just, she'd had some complications, and everybody had a little bit of brokenness, which I typically like throwing a lot of broken people together and trying to make it get happy and hopeful, which I don't know. I wish
Yeah.
life were more like that. And you know what? It is sometimes. But yeah, I just wanted to make them struggling, and they really needed to get back on the farm. They needed Jules' parents, and Jules' parents needed them, and but nobody really thought that they did. And yeah, when you throw them all together to start with, it got a little messy, but yeah.
Yeah. So the Miguel and Jewel scenes must have been fun to write because it's like a more of a heavy book. So to have these kind of lighter scenes between the two of them, that must have been nice.
Yeah, because I felt like we needed it. I
Yeah.
needed it. The reader needed it. Give us a little happy break here. And I just loved Miguel. I mean, he was just like, just what she needed, even though she had that other, I can't even remember the other guy's name that was kind of trying to horn in on the
Oh yeah. Yeah.
action. He was kind of a jerk, but yeah. And then
Yeah.
I think, see, Cooper needed the friendship, and I can't, was it Anna? I think the girl, I wrote this book
Hmm.
2 years ago,
Right,
but
right.
yeah, that it's like you have to give them something. I mean, you're putting them through the ringer, and it's like you got to
Yeah.
give them something.
Yeah. So what would be your pitch to the Hallmarkies listener? Check out this book, they'll enjoy it. What do you think they'd like about it?
If you like stories about relationships and family and hard things turning into good things, you might like this book. I'm terrible at pitching. Although I used to pitch for a slow pitch girls ball team.
Oh, really? Yeah. I mean, it's probably crazy to ask, but do you have a favorite of your books?
Right now it might be this one.
Mm,
Just because I've lost my husband, and
yeah.
it feels special to me. Before that, it might have been the one about schizophrenia, Finding Alice. I think I
Mm,
would say that back in the past, but because I think I like these ones that kind of tug at your heart, but they also show us things that we might not have known,
yeah.
and Yeah.
Kind of get that women's fiction feel
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, so we have some fun get to know you questions. We probably did a while back, but it's been so long, we're going to do them again.
Okay.
So, first question, what is the best ice cream flavor?
Well, Jamocha almond fudge is, and I don't
Oh,
particularly like ice cream. And then the funny thing is, the second favorite would just be plain old vanilla.
yeah.
But Jamocha almond fudge, yeah.
What's your favorite dessert if it's not ice cream?
Oh gosh, lately, because I was just with my sister and we were talking about sticky rice with
Oh,
mango. Have you ever
yeah.
had that?
Yeah,
That
that is
so yeah,
good.
yeah.
Yeah.
I also like bread pudding. I know
Mhm.
I have odd taste, but yeah.
No, that's good. Yeah, as long as it's not too mushy, like the bread
Yeah,
pudding
it
could be
has to
kind
be
of,
good bread pudding, and I
yeah.
like it. It has like a good like bourbon sauce or something like that on it too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
Favorite color?
Green,
Good. Okay, good. What music are you into?
kind of everything. Lately it's kind of been easy jazz. And
Oh,
while my husband we listened to John Denver like all the time, and I have always loved John Denver, but I honestly got a little bit tired of John Denver.
that's funny. You need like a break, a John Denver break.
Yeah,
That's all right. Well, what would be your go-to date night food? What would you have had with your husband?
salmon, salmon. I
Mm,
I love salmon. I mean, I like it cooked well. I don't like just
yeah,
any, but yeah, salmon.
cool. What do you like going out and doing for like a date night or just an activity night, even with your girlfriends? What do you think's fun?
Uh, well, I live in kind of a music town. We have a lot of good music stuff, so that is always fun. And it's our town is known for a folk festival, and so we get a lot of folk and Celtic. And I was just actually visiting my sister and listening to Irish and Celtic music. That was
Oh,
pretty fun.
nice, nice.
Yeah.
I give you some story ideas.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you're
The book
probably
I
do you have like a notepad? You're just always writing down stories. They're
the
just
book
in there.
that well, and it was funny because the book I just finished, I throw a musician into it who is from Ireland, and she was part of a Celtic Irish band, and I was telling my sister, "Man, I should have come up here and heard you guys play." But I'm still in the editing stages of it, so I'll have a few more
Yeah.
songs to tuck in or something.
Are people ever like, don't put this in the book? Don't put this.
Well, I don't tell them what I'm gonna do, and
Yeah.
sometimes sometimes it's like really torn straight out of life, and then
Yeah.
they'll read it and they don't even see it, and I'm like, okay, that's good.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Which do you like better, dogs or cats?
Dogs, I think, but I've had some wonderful cats too, so I don't know.
Mhm.
That's a hard
Yeah.
one. I'm thinking about a dog right now, though. So
Oh, cute. Okay, which do you like better, beaches or mountains?
peaches or what?
Beaches or mountains?
Oh gosh, that's a hard one. I love them both, but I live in the mountains, and I've had the chance to live at the beach. As far as living there, because we get really cold, foggy weather at the beach, so I kind of chose the mountains.
Okay,
I
good.
love them.
Yeah, yeah. What's your favorite holiday to celebrate?
Well, it was Christmas, but my husband just died at
Yeah.
Christmas, so I'm kind of
Oh, that's hard.
birthday too. So it'll be interesting to see how this next Christmas feels, but
That's understandable. Totally. Yeah, that
yeah.
would be hard. What is your favorite Hallmark or romantic movie?
Oh wow. Oh well, I'm just gonna go. Oh, there's so many, honestly. But you know what? I just watched and I hadn't seen it for a while, and I'm just like, oh, I love this movie. Is Overboard.
Oh, good one. Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
funny.
I do love that movie, but I mean,
Hmm.
there's a bunch of others too.
Did you watch the remake? Don't watch the remake. It's
I was flipping around. I go, oh, there's Overboard again. I have a DVD somewhere, but then I saw the people in it, and I thought, oh, that's the remake. Nah. The
it's
first,
not it's not a train wreck. It's not
yeah,
awful,
but
but
the first one's so perfect with
yeah,
her and Goldie. It's like I don't think you.
absolutely.
It's like Sound of Music. I don't think you could ever,
No,
beat that. So just
no.
leave it alone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and there's just certain parts. So they gender swap it. And I guess that's
Uh,
trying to make it more modern, or
yeah.
what, but it doesn't really work. But I guess they tried.
Well, they probably wanted to make it different, and
Yeah.
the first Hallmark movie I had, they gender swapped my characters, and it took me a minute to kind of get
Oh,
used
they
to it, and
did.
then I got used to it. It's like, yeah, that's kind of cool. That
What was
was
your
that was a
first
boat that was a boat movie too. All summer long
Oh yeah,
with
yeah, yeah. Forgot about that.
Autumn.
Hmm.
His name went through my head,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Cool. Yeah, very good. Well, you did it. You answered all the questions. Thank you so much for taking time to talk with us, and we'll have all the information for the book
Yeah,
in the description. People can check it out. If Are you on social media at all?
I'm trying. It's like right now I feel like I've been knocked off Facebook, but I am not really. And I do have a virtual assistant who's kind of helping me figure it all out.
Okay,
And my
great.
website is being remodeled, so it's not even up. But
Mm,
I am on Facebook, and actually I guess I'm on Twitter and some other things too because she's helping me.
okay,
But
cool.
I'm not tech.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, very good. Thanks so much for coming and talk with us, and good
Thank
luck on the
you.
book, and hope everything I hope you're able to get through this hard time. I know that's tough. That's very tough. So
Yeah, I'm in a
thanks.
really good community, so that's
That's
good.
good. I'm so glad. But
Yeah.
thanks for talking with us.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank Melody for coming on the podcast. This was so much fun to get to talk with her, and I hope y'all enjoy the book. I thought it had a lot of heart and soul. So definitely check it out. I will have all the information in the description to take a look. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. Check that out. Also, make sure you're following the podcast, Hallmarkies Pod, Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. We really appreciate that so much. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have our Patreon group, which is the biggest way you can support everything that we're doing and be part of really cool experiences. And we try to make it a great bang for your buck. And then we have the merch store where we have all kinds of fun designs. So check that out. Thanks again to Melody, and we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.